Well, thank you once again for joining us here at Completing Christ as we continue to walk through the book of Philippians. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope God's using His Word to speak to your heart. I want to encourage you that if you have not gone to our YouTube channel and subscribed, to do that. I also encourage you ladies and you guys to encourage your wives to check out Tina on Thursdays as she's doing a segment called Thursday's Talk with Tina. She's walking through the book of James. Just some really, really good stuff. And again, thank you for taking time to listen. I hope God's using His Word in a powerful, powerful way in your life. You know, we're in chapter 2, and today I'm going to read verses 19 through the rest of the chapter through verse 30. It's a pretty lengthy passage, but as I read this, a couple things I want you to be listening for. He's talking about two guys here. He's talking about Timothy, and he's talking about Epaphroditus. And he's talking about their lives. You see, these two guys understood, like Paul did, that Jesus was not just an add-on to our lives, that Jesus was life. And he describes these two guys in this passage. And he makes a statement at the end of this passage that really spoke to my heart. He told the people in Philippi that, he said, Epaphroditus is coming. He said, you hold him in high regard. I want you to take some time over the next few days and think about some people that God's placed in your life that you should hold in high regard. You know, think about that phrase, to hold them in high regard, that they're very, very special, that God's used them in a mighty, mighty way because Jesus was their life. I want you to think about that over the next several days. All right, listen as we read through this passage. Paul says, but I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you shortly, so that I always been encouraged when I learn of your condition. For I have no one else of kindred spirit. Listen to that now. For I have no one else of kindred spirit who will genuinely be concerned about your welfare. For they all seek after their own interests, not the interests of Jesus Christ. But you know of His proven worth, and that He has served with me in the furtherance of the gospel like a child serving his father. Therefore, I hope to send him immediately as soon as I see how things are going with me. And I trust in the Lord that I myself will be coming shortly. But I thought it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother, my fellow worker, and fellow soldier, who is also your messenger and minister to my need. Because he was longing for you all and was distressed because you had heard that he was sick. For indeed he was sick even to the point of death. But God had mercy on him, and not on him only, but also on me, so that I would have sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore, I have sent him all the more eagerly, so that when you see him again, you may rejoice, and that I may be less concerned about you. Verse 29, receive him in the Lord with all joy, and hold men like him in high regard, because he came close to death for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete what was deficient in your service to me. You know, Paul talks about two guys here. He talks about Timothy and he talks about Epaphroditus. And what I want to do is just look at some of the words that he used to describe those guys. And remember, he's telling you, look, hold Epaphroditus in high regard. All right, Timothy. He uses the phrase kindred spirit. He says that Timothy is a kindred spirit, a like spirit. We have like character. We think alike. We're on the same page. We're motivated by the same God. You know, our relationship with Jesus has given us the same motive. Man, I'm thinking about this guy that I got a phone call from one time that I'd never met before. He introduced himself and he began talking to me and describing to me some things the Lord was doing in his life and some ministries that he was involved in. And I got off the phone. I told my wife, I said, man, I felt like I've known that guy all my life. And he turned out to be one of the best friends I ever had. We had a kindred spirit. We thought alike. We were on the same page. That's what Paul's talking about with Timothy. We had a kindred spirit. He said he's generally concerned about you. That he's not like other people. He really, really cares about you. That his concern for you is legitimate. Man, I met this guy in Las Vegas that was living in this certain zip code. And man, he had a heart for that zip code. And I remember walking through that zip code with him time and time again, praying for those people. And that's what I thought about when I read that phrase, genuinely concerned about you. He had a heart for those people. Man, Paul says, look, Timothy has a heart for you. Says his worth has been proven. He's been tried. He's been tested. He's trustworthy. He's been faithful. That man, he really cares about you, and it's been proven. He's proven it over and over and over again. And then he uses this phrase that he talks about how that they were more concerned, other people concerned about their own interests. He said, not Timothy. That Timothy's interests are not his own. That he's not like other people, that Timothy wants what Jesus wants. Man, don't you love to be around people that want what Jesus wants? You know, and Paul says, look, man, Timothy wants what Jesus wants. May that be said about me, may that be said about you, that we want what Jesus wants. And then he calls him a servant. You know, he says, look, he's like a child serving his father. Man, he has partnered with me in the advancing of the gospel. That he did what was needed. He was willing to do what I needed him to do so the gospel could be advanced. He was like a son to me. You know, and he uses those words to describe Timothy. Man, could those words be used to describe me or describe you? And then he talks about Epaphroditus. And he says, he's my brother. That we're the same spiritual womb. We've both been birthed into the family of God through a relationship with Jesus. He calls him a fellow worker, a fellow soldier. We're co-workers. We're partners. Man, we've been laboring together. Man, he's a fellow soldier. Man, we're in the spiritual battle together. That Epaphroditus understands that this journey with Jesus, this walking with Jesus, is a spiritual battle going on. And man, we need people like that in our life. You know, Paul needed Epaphroditus. He needed Timothy. We need people like Timothy. We need people like Epaphroditus in our life. And we need to be a Timothy. We need to be Epaphroditus to other people. We need to be willing to partner. Thank God for the people he's allowed us to partner with over the years, man, to do ministry together. And then he calls him a messenger and a minister. He says, look, he's one sent. He's got a message. He's a spokesman. He's an ambassador for Jesus. He's a representative of Jesus. He said, look, he ministered to me, and I'm sending him to minister to you. He said, remember, he almost died serving Jesus. Hold him in high regard. Thank God for Timothy. Thank God for Epaphroditus. Thank God for the men they were because of their relationship with Jesus. Man, what about me and what about you? Do people look at us? And do they have a desire to hold us in high regard, not because of who we are, not because of what we've done, but because of the Jesus in us and what he's doing in and through our lives? Again, I want to encourage you, but I want to challenge you. Think about those people that God has placed in your life that you need to hold with high regard because of the Jesus in them and how Jesus has used them to minister to you, to serve you, to teach you about the gospel of Jesus, to teach you how to walk with Jesus, to challenge you to hang on to the truth because it's worth it, to challenge you to pour yourself out, to challenge you to rejoice in what Jesus has done and what Jesus is going to do. Hold these people in high regard. Think about those people that God's placed in your life that you can hold in high regard. And I want to challenge you to do something. I want you to think about doing something with me. Thank God for them And if they're still alive, give them a phone call or send them a text and say, thank you. Thank you for loving Jesus, and thank you for allowing Jesus to use you in my life. Man, I pray that you have a blessed day. I pray God has taken His word and spoken directly to your heart. And remember, let Jesus be Jesus in you.